Lina Carter wiped the grease from her hands onto her oversized overalls, her fingers trembling with excitement. The scrapyard stretched around her like a graveyard of forgotten ships, rusted hulls stacked atop one another, waiting to be picked apart. She had spent months saving every credit, fixing busted air filters and outdated navigation modules, just to be here today. The ship before her was a wreck, its hull pockmarked with plasma burns, its wings hanging at odd angles. But she didn't care. It was a Hawk-9 Interceptor, an old warbird from a conflict no one talked about anymore. Most saw it as junk. Lina saw potential. "You sure you want this one, kid?" Grechtal's gravelly voice rumbled from behind her. The scrapyard owner's reptilian eyes blinked slowly, unimpressed. "It's not that bad," Lina said, circling the ship, running her hand over the faded insignia on its side. "How much?" Grechtal chuckled, a deep, rasping sound. "For you? Let's say 5,000 credits." Lina narrowed her eyes. "You're joking. All right, 4. I have 2. Then you're out of luck." She crossed her arms. "No one else is buying this. It's been sitting here for years. The power core's dead, and the fuel injectors are shot. I'll have to spend months fixing it." Grechtal sighed, his four-fingered hand scratching at his scaly jaw.
"Fine.
2,000. But don't come crying when it falls apart." Lina grinned, shaking his massive hand.
Deal."
It took 2 hours to drag the ship back to her tiny garage on the station's lower levels. With the help of her rusty maintenance droid, she propped it up and got to work. The exterior was worse than she thought, but the cockpit, that was interesting. The controls were covered in dust, but they were intact. The interface flickered weakly when she rerouted emergency power. Old systems like this should have been completely wiped, yet something remained, something hidden. Her fingers brushed against the console. A faint hum. Then a click. A panel slid open beneath the dashboard. Lina blinked. Inside was a small data drive, embedded deep within the ship's original framework. It wasn't standard issue. It wasn't meant to be found. Lina carefully pulled it free, turning it over in her hand. It was old, far older than the ship itself. Something about it made her uneasy, but curiosity burned brighter. She plugged it into her personal console. The screen flickered, struggling to read the data. Then static. A sound crackled through the speakers, low, distorted, urgent. Then a voice. Guttural. Alien. Desperate. And then silence. Lina's fingers flew over the console, bypassing layer after layer of security. The ship's system fought back, locking down sections of the fighter, but she was determined. She could feel the pull of something huge, something waiting just beneath the surface. The message wasn't just a warning, it was a key. But to what? As she worked, she pulled up old records of the Hawk-9, cross-referencing with scraps of history she'd scavenged over the years. The ship wasn't just a war relic, it was part of a forgotten conflict. The Silent War. It was barely spoken of, the kind of war that left no victor. The kind that wiped out entire species without ever really being recorded in the public archives. Lina's pulse quickened as the pieces began to fall into place. The Velek, an alien race that humans had barely understood, had fought against humanity in the Silent War. The war ended in an unspoken truce, both sides withdrawing into the shadows of the galaxy. But Lina knew something was off. Why had the ship been kept hidden? Why this secretive message? She opened another database, trying to trace the coordinates from the message. They weren't just random, they led to a location long erased from all known maps. The system didn't even recognize it. Not officially, anyway. But the logs were there, buried in layers of outdated data, all pointing to an uncharted system. It was as if the coordinates had been scrubbed from history itself, hidden away to protect it. Suddenly, a new alert flashed across her screen. A deep space scanner signal. It was faint at first, but then it sharpened, the readout revealing the unmistakable shape of another ship, a heavily modified vessel, far beyond the tech of this station. Lina's eyes widened.
She didn't need to be told what that meant.
Someone was actively searching for the ship, searching for the data she'd just unlocked. The ship's systems flickered again, and a low, mechanical hum filled the cockpit. Lina tried to override the ship's lockdown, but it was pointless. The ship was already calling out for help. Something, someone, was listening. And they were coming. She knew it wasn't just a coincidence anymore. The ship hadn't been abandoned. It had been left intentionally, hidden, guarded, and now it was waking up. The fighter began to rumble as if the ship itself could sense the danger. Lina cursed under her breath. She had to move, had to act before whoever was searching for the ship reached the station. The comms crackled, an encrypted transmission piercing through the static. Surrender the relic. It wasn't a request. It was an order. But there was no way in hell Lina was going to hand it over. With a quick flick of the wrist, she activated the emergency systems. The ship's engines sparked to life, a burst of power flowing through the damaged circuits. The fighter's hull creaked in protest, but it responded, lifting off the ground, and Lina steered it toward the exit. She didn't have much time. The moment she hit the atmosphere, the pursuing ship would know exactly where she was. The scramble was on. The hunt had begun. Lina punched the throttle forward. Whoever was behind this wasn't going to get her. Not without a fight.